So astrology is about the frequency that is emitted by the elliptical orbits of the planes that creates vibratory influences of the waters that's not only in the atmosphere, the environment, and in the body. And it's essentially the study of that. Like, understanding that frequency is the frequency and how a wave goes up and down. Because all of it's light waves, right? But these light waves are in spiral. And these spirals have a cycle. So the spiral and its cycle, meaning how often it goes through this spiral, creates a frequency. The frequency emits a pulse or a sacred geometry. So another layman's way to put it is that astrology is the study of light waves and the sacred geometry created that induces a pulse or emits in a pulse that creates vibratory influences on the atmosphere, the environment, and the waters within. And how that dictates this reality. Like, we like to think that we're so disconnected from all of the lights around us, but we're not. Everything that happens around us is a combustion of something, which is why astrology was studied in the first place, because every sun produces another effect on the environment and the atmosphere. And the effect starts with the atmosphere. The different waves that come from these lights. Taking the sun, for example, there's visible lights that we see and the invisible lights that we don't see. All of these create conversions in the atmosphere because there are also elements in the atmosphere. And once these elements create a combustion in the atmosphere, they then create a combustion in the environment. And it looks like things like weather. It looks like things like spring. It looks like things like not understanding, like wind or other things. So all of these light waves are utilizing whatever's in the atmosphere, and that combustion creates a conversion of the environment, and then that also creates a frequency or a vibratory pulse within the waters within you, because everything is water. Everything has water. This is the base of all life. So that's really what astrology is. So when you're talking about Saturn, for example, Saturn has its own pattern, its own sacred geometry that it emits. And from that emission, it creates a frequency, meaning how frequently it does its pattern, its sacred geometry. This sacred geometry creates an impression or a vibration. This vibration then, through its lights, the lights you see and the lights you don't see. And the further it is, there's less lights that you see based on your point of observation. So the lights you see and you don't see then affect the atmosphere, the sphere that you are in. So really, when you start to understand astrology, everything comes back to the spirit or the sphere. You're in an environment. It has its own sphere, meaning its own torus field. You have your own torus field. The atmosphere has its own torus field. And everything is just doing its toroidal spiral. And when Saturn's seen and unseen lights do its frequent sacred geometry and creates that pulse, that vibratory chain of combustion affects the waters, the blood within you. And this is what we call an influence. And it's really not that complicated when you think about it, because we see it every day with the sun. We're in the atmosphere of the sun, and we see how when the sun rises, the birds start to chirp. We see that, if you spend time outside, you would see that the plants start to wake up. You would see that the other pollinators like bees and wasps and all the ones that hunt in the morning, they get up, but they were resting because the spiral, meaning the travel of the sun, right? The everyday travel of the sun was at a frequency or a point in its spiral where something happened to the environment, meaning it went away. Something happened to the environment. That means the moon came out. Something happened to the environment. That means it took its vitality. Something happened to the environment. That means sleep becomes induced, where a certain thing happening on this part of that frequency or spiral did not happen. So the starting point or the rising point of when the sun hits the horizon completely changes than when it sets on the horizon. And once it sets, meaning it leaves this sphere, this environment, a whole chain reaction happens. And now we have a different scene of what's going on in our environment. And then, the moon does the same thing. It has its own light. It emits its own light. And I know there's debate about that. But, based on my own studies and based on my own beliefs, it does have its own emission of light frequencies and light waves, and everything around you does the same thing. But we don't even realize that the things around us are emitting light because we don't understand what light is. There's always an emission of something, of an energy, and even when something doesn't emit a high frequency of something, or high vibration, right, of something, meaning on that thermal camera, it's not red. There's still like a purple. There's essentially a purple, meaning it's emitting a different level of frequency, but it's still an emission. To be able to see, to be able to convert the light into form means there's an emission. So that's really what astrology is. Looking at all these planes and their elliptical orbit, really the heavens above you, the celestial bodies doing their dance, creating a song. And this song creates combustion, a compound combustion from everything from the waters in the atmosphere to the waters in the environment to the waters in the bodies below. And once you get that, astrology is not far-fetched. This is why we've been studying it for eons. This is why it was the foundation for a lot of sciences that came forth. Now, what I think we get caught up in is that the way our ancestors told stories was through parables. And so we think because we can't, what their perception of their reality or how they told their folklores is incorrect, that means all of the science surrounding it is incorrect. No. The same reason why you read literature today, it's to tell you a moral. Same reason why you read doctrines today, it's to tell you a moral. So it doesn't have to make sense. And in fact, if you ever get a chance and you do sky gazing, which I very much recommend, like if you can go somewhere where there's little to no light pollution. I mean, no like if you can go to a rural area, small town, get a cabin and just be outside and you allow yourself, bless, okay? You allow yourself to go into your meditative state looking at the sky, you'll see that space is very much alive. And why they decided to create certain quote unquote beasts or animals to represent certain zodiacal constellations starts to make sense, because half the reason we can't see or half the reason we don't understand is because in this modern age there's an intentional light pollution. So you can't appreciate the sun for what it is or what it actually does, because now you have street lights. So now you have a nightlife. Now you have all these things where our ancestors understood that you're supposed to reverence the sun by allowing it to be what it is, by allowing it to be the Son of Man. You know what I'm saying? And us actually being able to let its song wake us up and allowing us to let its song put us to sleep, you know? And all of these combustions do different functions in your body. So it's just like, it's a layered thing. It seems complicated, but it really is not, because you've already learned this. Just the way you've learned things in school and stuff like that is just kind of all over the place, very fragmented. Like, people say a lot that the shit that we learned in school had no use, it had no value, it was a waste of time. And the truth is, it was not necessarily that it was a waste of time. It's the way that it was taught was unorganized and unapplicable. And because you can't apply something, this is how children learn. Children learn through application, hands-on. Me telling you that there's dirt outside, but you've never seen the dirt outside, doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Me telling you that trees emit certain frequencies to the atmosphere to ask for rain doesn't matter if you can't go observe the trees themselves. If you think that everything but you is alive, or not alive, I'm sorry. And I think that's the disservice we do, is we don't realize that the Most High spoke everything into existence. And the first thing that was spoken was light, and light came from what? Vibration, the word. And so because of that, we think when in the doctrines it says, you know, the earth makes creature after its kind, the air makes creature after its kind, the waters will make creature after their kind, somehow certain things just are what they are, and not realizing that all of it came from the vibration of the word that was light. The light waves. And these light waves are always in communication. The lights you see and the lights you don't. In fact, the void is the light you don't see. Bless, Cardinal. The void is the light that you don't see. So, I just wanted to get on here because, you know, when it really comes down to it, that's a true study. We are in astrology studying the orbit, the frequency of an orbit that creates the vibration that then influences the different bodies in the environment, the atmosphere, and then the waters within. And things like the Schumann report, I think that's how you say it. I always say it wrong. And, you know, how we study the earth, like even how we study the earth and its vibration that it emits. A lot of the times we don't realize that that also is contingent on the lights above as well. These two things are doing a dance, or having sex, whatever you want to call it. These two things are doing a dance and communicating. And it's so easy to dismiss it, but I think the perfect example of this is when major events happen environmentally, quote unquote, Mother Nature, and all the animals just disappear. Humans, because we don't spend time with the Most High, we don't go outside, we don't look for the signs and the symbols and wonder. We don't do that anymore. We are taught to stay inside. We don't like being outside. We don't like looking at clouds. We don't like looking at the sky. All of it seems pointless and things that kids do. But all of these animals do it every day, and they honor that. They honor what the Most High has done for them. And the more you get in alignment with honoring that, it communicates. You're able to communicate with the 360 around you. You're able to communicate with nature, and nature tells you. Nature talks to you. Why? Because it's emitting a song. And that song talks to your waters, your blood. Like, it's stuff like this shit like this makes me want to cry, because like, damn, how brilliant is the Most High? Everything works in alignment. How brilliant is the Most High? That is so cool to me. And this is also why I think astronomy is so important. It's really helped me be able to read charts better, because now I understand the aspects more, actually, and how the refracting of lights, the bending of lights, the compounding of lights create energetic I guess, orbs or pools, that they create orbs or pools that literally become energy points in which you can, not even which you can, that start to take shape and form in the waters. So, I mean, I think that's why astronomers thinks it's so cool. Like, you know, discovering the different celestial states and seeing what this state makes up, and then, you know, being able to actually understand orbit and how everything spirals and the proximity and how these constellations make these lights, right? And these waters make up some form of state, some form of body, and, you know, just really being able to see the handiwork. I don't know. It's just, I know a lot of people don't believe in astrology, but the Most High really put everything outside of you so that you could understand the Most High. I'm getting goosebumps. And I just feel like the more you take the time and like the energy to understand your 360 and understand the Most High, you're in awe. You're actually in awe. And there's so many times where I'm not someone who like literally follows like astrology in the sense of every day I'm what's going on. A lot of times my astrology is going outside at night and being able to pinpoint constellations. Lately I've been doing Jupiter and Mercury, Pollux, I'm sorry. Knowing where Draco is, knowing where Ursa Major and Minor is, and my favorite thing lately to be doing is right around the moonrise, seeing what constellation the moon is coming through and being able to tell what sign the moon is in. And, you know, I'm normally a sign off. Like the other day I was like, oh, the moon is in Gemini, but it was actually in Cancer. But it's just so cool just getting better and better at, you know, using these elements as our ancestors did to navigate. Like that's all they had, really. And I'm not saying that they were primitive, because they definitely were technological, but they honored the system and used their system in alignment with the technologies that they created through the manipulation of the elements. And it's just, I don't know, it's such a great wonder for me. So again, astrology is the study of the light waves and the frequency that is emitted through their sacred geometry, their orbit, that then creates a vibratory influence on the atmosphere, the environment, and the waters within.
We are the echoes of the ancients long ago. The ancients echo